What's up, War Rapport family? We are back with another great edition of Facts or Nah, LSU edition. Fellas, y'all ready to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Let's get it kicked off like this. Facts or Nah, TJ Finley will start at quarterback for Auburn versus LSU this weekend. Fellas, what are we thinking?
I say facts. Not because I know. It's what I want. I'm speaking what I want into existence. You had one guy look terrible, all field goals, and then you had another guy who came in and looked decent, but with the moxie and the will to win the game. How do you bench that guy? It's his homecoming. The team who didn't want him to start, for him to come back to that team at that stadium and win a game for his new team, to beat his old team, is too beautiful a story to miss out on. Facts. TJ Finley. Get on.
I'm going facts here as well. And I was the person who didn't really think it would happen so soon. I don't see why you don't start that guy and give him a shot on the road against LSU. And if Bo Nix is really injured, as they say, why play an injured quarterback? And if you do start Bo Nix and he's on a much shorter leash than before, why don't you just start the other guy if there's little room for error for Bo Nix? So I'm going to go TJ Finley here. We all already saw how the team rallied around him in the final moments of the Georgia State game. It just makes sense at this point. Give him a start. You can always go back to Bo if it doesn't work out. But for now, let's go with TJ Finley. I'm going facts.
Come on, fellas. You already know I'm going facts on this one. Called it a week ago. It's time for new blood at quarterback. I am absolutely elated that our coach did what our last coach wouldn't do and pulled Bo. And not only did he pull Bo, he staved off a complete disaster that would have been in a total embarrassment that would have been registered in the record books against Auburn football. So I'm going facts here. I think that TJ Finley is the obvious choice for this one based on what you've seen. Listen, we're not going to learn anything new about Bo at this point. We know everything that we're going to know. Give TJ the start. You can always go back to Bo if it doesn't work out. But if you play Bo and then he does what he has been doing, you can't go back to him again. So for Bo's sake, for TJ's sake, I think you start TJ Finley on the road versus his old team. What poetic justice would it be for him to go on the road and beat the team that said he was no better than the third string quarterback at their school? He's motivated. He wants it. I say facts, start TJ Finley.
All right, guys, facts or nah? Auburn holds Max Johnson to under 300 yards of passing offense this weekend. What are we thinking?
Nah, I don't think we hold Max Johnson to less than 300 yards passing. LSU doesn't really have a run game. I don't think they're going to just materialize one just to move the ball on us. They're going to have to move the ball up and down the field. Even if we keep him under control and they don't score a bunch of points, that's still going to be the main way they get up and down the field to generate offense in this game. So best case, we bend, don't break, but he's still going to get his yards, I think. And Butte is probably going to put up a bunch of yards as well, hopefully in a loss. But still, nah, not under 300.
I'm actually going to go facts on this one. I think this is the week that it finally all comes together for Derek Mason's defense. He's had 4 weeks to study the film and try to figure out what we do well and what we don't do well. Now it's time to send the dogs after Max Johnson. I really like LSU's number one receiver, Butte. He actually had something crazy like a 300-yard receiving game or something last year. He's been pretty reliable for them this year. So the best way to stop him is to send a pass rush at the quarterback that disrupts what they're trying to do in the passing game. I expect them to do that very well in this game. This is the week that it all comes together. So I'm going facts. Auburn holds Max Johnson under 300 yards.
I'm going to go nah on this one. And for some of the reasons that B said, I think LSU is just too one-dimensional this year, and they've made their living in the passing game. And I think Auburn's pass defense, while I expect it to improve this month of October as we enter SEC play, they play in a certain way that's kind of bend but don't break. And so I think playing zone, and I think we'll see a good bit of zone in the LSU game. I think Max Johnson will find some soft spots in the zone with Butte. And I think that when it's all said and done, he'll have over 300 yards. But the key for Auburn's defense is to keep them one-dimensional so that their run game doesn't get going. And if they're able to do that, they will be able to tee off on Max Johnson enough to disrupt him, throw his timing off. I still think we're able to keep it very close, and he won't gouge us in the passing game as a result. I do think he gets over 300 yards, but I don't think that may be the determining factor of whether or not LSU wins or not. I still like Auburn, but I'm going facts here.
All right, fellas, facts or not? Both Canyon and Capers will each see at least 25 snaps against LSU.
I'm going facts on this one. I hope so. I hope we see some different rotations at wide receiver. Canyon probably, arguably, had the best catch of the season on the final drive versus Georgia State, where he tiptoed the sideline like an NFL receiver, controlled his body, and made a catch to keep a drive on track and moving down the field that ultimately ended up in Auburn winning the game. I have to wonder, where has that been these first 4 games? If a guy is capable of that sort of production, probably should have been playing. So in line with the change at quarterback that I expect to see a change at wide receiver as well. TJ seems to look for Capers. A lot of these guys who were probably working on the second team with TJ preseason, makes sense to kind of put them in there. I'm not sure we've been playing the best guys at wide receiver up to this point, so I expect to see Canyon and Capers get significant time in this one. I'm going facts. Brian Harsin threw the sink at Georgia State in search of a spark. I expect him to do it again at LSU.
I'm going to go facts here, especially since TJ Finley will be the starter as we predicted to be. These are guys who he appears to have some chemistry with, some good rapport with. So I expect them to get some snaps. And when they got an opportunity against Georgia State, they shined. They made some plays. And so that's the type of playmaking ability we're going to need on the road against LSU. It makes too much sense for those guys to be out there. I don't see why you wouldn't put them out there, and to allow Finley to be able to spread the ball around to different guys. And so I expect them to be out there. So it's facts for me.
I'm going to say nah. And it's not because I want that to be the case. It's that of the wide receivers from last game, who do you bench? Javarius Johnson, he had a drop, but he didn't play a terrible game. Most of these guys spent 3/4 of the game not getting the ball thrown to them well. And Shed, even though he's been much maligned, caught the game-winning pass. I think they're going to mix those guys in more, Canyon and Capers, but I don't think they're going to punish the current wide receivers that have been getting the most snaps, especially with the new wide receivers coach. We don't know how he sees that group and what he's going to change about that group. So he may keep the same guys and say, hey, here's your shot to do it how I'm telling you to do it. I think it's too early to tell. Changing the quarterback may be what we needed to make everything click better. And even though I hope that ends up getting more snaps for those guys, those wide receivers, I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to say no.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. Our fan question of the week. This week's fan question comes from our guy, Valiant Hermes, on Twitter, and he asks, facts or nah, the Auburn defense has 2 interceptions at LSU. Fellas, what do we think?
I would love to see that, but nah. I think Auburn may get an interception as much as LSU will be throwing the ball around, and depending on the game situation, if LSU does find themselves behind on trying to come back, it makes it easier for that to happen. But I still see our secondary still as a work in progress in the zone. I think if we're fortunate to get some pressure up front, we may be able to force Max Johnson into an interception. If we get 2 interceptions, I really am liking our chances of pulling away from LSU in what I feel will be a very tight game. So in a game like that, I expect mistakes to be at a minimum. Of course, they could be the turning point of who wins or loses this game. I'm going to go nah because I think it's going to be a real close game. If it is more than 1 interception, I really like Auburn pulling away, and I'm hoping that happens, but I'm just going to say nah here.
I'm going to say nah as well, partially for the same reasons that C gave, but also it's really hard for me to believe that anything is going to happen until we saw it. We all jumped on the bandwagon and said we would beat Penn State at Penn State, partially because we're homers, but also because we had seen something we hadn't seen with the offense, and it disappeared just like that. We have not seen our team play consistently well on the road. Even though we thought they would, they did not. And the same thing with the defense, and you can see that from Georgia State. I have not seen our secondary play complete disciplined football. If this is the game they start, that will be great, and I will expect them to do it going forward. I have not seen it yet, so I am not expecting it. We can always get one poor throw, tip ball, whatever. Two would be a pattern, and I'm not ready to expect that from us yet, so nah.
I'm going to go facts, actually. So with that improved pass rush, I expect to see that's going to force Max Johnson to not reach 300 yards passing. I expect some bad throws. And when those bad throws come, I expect Smoke Monday and company to be there to pick them off and return them for pick sixes. So facts, we do it. Well, that's it for another great edition of Facts or Not, LSU edition. Listen, we want to hear from you. So if you want to get a question featured on this segment, tweet at us at The War Report your question, and we'll get your question up next. Other than that, you guys know where to find us. We are The War Report on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TW Rapport on TikTok. Gentlemen, we're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.